We are live, Arne.
Okay.
I think we to start.
All right, welcome everyone. So I'm here live from Dam Square, Amsterdam, and I want to welcome you all to the prototype of the online design thinking conference. Now, for all of you who have been at the conference last year or the years before, you know we're also always trying to do an experiment and try to do this new stuff. So this is our attempt to do a prototype where we said, well, this year you can come to Amsterdam, and probably next year you won't be able to come to Amsterdam either. So we'll bring Amsterdam to you. Okay, what you're going to witness is a prototype where we challenge the idea of the traditional conference going online and basically cutting and pasting, the same concepts, the same content, the same kind of speakers from what they have offline to online. We say it has to be different, because if you're going to watch a whole day online, which is actually not possible anyway, but who wants to watch PowerPoint presentations on their computer? That's the most boring television. That's the design challenge. Design challenge is, can we actually make an exciting television? I don't know if we can do it now, but we're going to try it. So what you're going to witness is a first prototype where we're going to try and use a different narrative, a different way of communicating, and a different way of exciting the audience to be involved in a conference. You're going to look at a different kind of concept, format. So I want you as audience take notes, because a prototype, and this is a very low file prototype. I hope you can still hear me. This is a very low file prototype. And if you're familiar with prototyping and design thinking, prototyping is meant to start a conversation. It's meant to start a discussion. It's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to actually spark something, some imagination, what could be. So I would invite you to witness this, go with the flow, and then we'll have a good discussion on what are the elements that we can use for the future to make it more exciting and more engaging to be actually part of an online conference. So that's what I want to say. We have two wonderful people who are going to be here with us as speakers. And I'm going to introduce one of them shortly, but I first wanted to show you that she's actually riding a bicycle, which is a so this is a bicycle. Now, if you can see, I just want to share a little story about this bicycle, which is very, very typical Dutch. Obviously, bicycles, especially here in
Arne, can you adjust your mic slightly? We're losing the sound.
How about now? Is this better? Is this better?
Nope,
No,
nope, nope.
no.
Are you losing me? Are you losing me?
I can't hear you.
You went away?
Now you're completely gone.
Can you unmute and that's
Yeah.
Am I? Can you hear me now?
Yes, but with an echo.
You might be on Leo's
Through mine,
camera.
if not.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I think it's on.
Okay. Okay. We're going to switch to our. So I'm going to talk about this bike a little later, but first I'm going to wash the rain off my lens, and then I'm going to introduce you Leonor Carneiro. I practiced your name.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
She's here. How long have you been here in Amsterdam?
Short of 2 months.
Short of 2 months. Okay. So we're going to. I'm introducing you to Elise as our first speaker to this prototype of our conference. How's the sound now?
I think your microphone might be wet.
I can't even find it in place.
So we can hear you more through Leo's microphone than through your own at the moment.
Ah.
So Maybe you can share that mic.
Is this better?
Much better.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, all right.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. This is Leo. She just moved into Amsterdam. She's our first speaker. I will share quickly the story about the bike that she's actually using. This is what we call the swap fiets, which is swap basically for exchanging things. So it's a very simple concept because it's basically lease. You're leasing your bicycle, and that's very successful. It's been very radical here in the Netherlands because you can see them everywhere in Amsterdam all of a sudden. But you can see them because they have a blue tire. And that's why I wanted to share this, because the reason why they have one blue tire is because they actually wanted to have two of them. It's called, as you maybe know, in the Netherlands, we have a famous blue, which is called Delft blue. So they wanted to have two blue tires, but it was too expensive. They just couldn't afford it. So they made one blue tire, but that has been a masterstroke in marketing because everybody knows like the bicycle with the one blue front tire. Everybody knows that. So anyway, just wanted to share that story because it's been a very successful start. And by chance, Leo was using that in her adventure.
Your
Yeah.
sound is fading.
Before introducing myself, I'll just actually add something to that story, because when I first rented this bicycle, they actually said, look, because there's quite a few of them in the city, so to your point that they've become quite popular, they say there's a risk that you'll start seeing so many of them because all of them have the blue tire. You'll start seeing literally every corner. And so feel free to identify it some way. So this is I have a small, right. Like this? Yeah, better. So because I have a small kid, I have balloons at home. So this is my identifier to just, so small balloons on this bicycle. So let me just connect real quick so I can hear you guys. Like this. Hello, hello. Hello, I'm not sure. I'm not picking up. Oh, no, I think it's, better now. Okay, so I'm Leonor, or Leo is my international name because it's just easier. And so I'm originally Portuguese, but I've been a foreigner for 15 years now. I've spent 10 years in Spain, where I started shortly after university. I started working in Madrid. And it felt like a good step away from home because it was still, Latin culture, a lot of similarities. I ended up spending more time than I wanted because it's 10 years, but then I switched to Switzerland, Geneva, 5 years, and then I came here. So 3 international moves. But so excited to be in Amsterdam, I have to say, because coming from Madrid, big capital, Switzerland, smaller, this feels like the perfect compromise in size of the city, but just it has everything. So it's a step up in social life, but still you can find your way around. So this is me in a short. I'll venture. Just stop the video. No, we'll join the rest of you. Shall we?
This is the big experience. Let's see if we survive.
So here I am. Oh, reading the Peloton. Watch out, people. Arne, you should guide me the way. I'll find it.
So, Leo, you moved to Amsterdam a couple of months ago, and I guess your senses woke up for the city, and you're curious about how the whole city works and how different life must be from Switzerland, which was where you spent your last 5 years. What did you find more strikingly different?
That the,
We're losing the sound. Leo, could you say it again? We lost your sound for a minute.
I'll say it's the difference in Amsterdam versus Switzerland. It's depends because and of so many. I'm not.
My dear, you need to cycle a bit slower. Let's see if Arne can keep up and we don't miss the sound from you.
So
no, we're really missing the sound. I think I will ask
stop.
you to stop.
Yeah.
Area. We can see the tall buildings from the Amsterdam Canal.
Here, should we stop here? Just yeah. So, Pedro, you're asking the biggest difference.
Yeah, exactly. So the shop from Switzerland to Amsterdam, like opening a bank account or any permits from the city that you might need, or how do you get a bicycle and how do you register for that? All of these little services that suddenly you're probably very aware of the differences between the two places.
So I have to say that having 3 times already, sort of develop a system, right? Things that you know you're gonna find it, not so surprising. Learn a bit of research. You out to different what's to do it. There's a line that actually.
Leo and Arne, I do have to ask you, try to shake your microphones or something, because we're getting about 20% of the sound now.
Okay.
Just wobble yourselves around.
Yeah, let's get out of the bike maybe. I'm gonna check. Better? Is it better? Is it better? If I unmute with the phone?
Okay, I think now.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I was saying is, because I've moved already 3 times, I've sort of developed a system because I know which things I'll need when I arrive, right? Healthcare, banks, do you need a card for the public transport or the bicycles? So you sort of have a system to do the research. And in this case, Amsterdam is such a expat city that there's a lot of resources online that can help you finding out those basic stuff, right? The biggest difference is the pandemic, because it has been limiting the way that the city operates in every city, right? But it just has changed the dynamics a lot. So where I would be expecting to just meet a lot of people and be hanging out in different places, things are look like half empty. People are not sure what the rules are, so they're not very comfortable meeting up. It's a weird time to come, and
Right.
that is the biggest difference.
Okay.
It's not so much the city or in itself, I would say.
One last question for now. When you're feeling like this, you just came to a new city, so your senses are very awakened.
Yeah.
And of course, this would be wonderful if in a business setting you could also awaken your senses to how to interpret or how to analyze a service. What is different for you? How do you think you could actually like wake up the same kind of attention from your workplace instead of just from your life, from your
Look, I think, yeah, I think it's actually by doing this experiment, which is fascinating, it makes me take notes. So I'm now taking notes of my first impressions, just as like when I started in my company, like in my previous job, and you start in a company, they sometimes ask you, or you want to do yourself, your first ahas. What are you noticing difference? What's catching your eye? Because the thing is, after a while, you just take it for granted. You accept it as the norm, and you don't question it anymore. Like if you arrive to a company, you take notes, you say, oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is different. Why they're doing this like this? And you ask, and then if you ask enough people and they all tell you, oh, this is just the way it is, you accept it, right? And you move on to the next thing. So it's like a fingerprint that disappears. So I'm finding the taking notes actually very refreshing. Like, what are my ahas? And for the city, it has been the contradictions, some of the contradictions in the city. And I say, for instance, they're meant to be very responsible, very, safe and follow the rules. But then you come here and the first street that you cross, it's a miracle that you're not run over by a bicycle, because they're just the bosses of the city and they don't, they have their own rules. So that was the first thing that struck me, actually.
Okay, so hanging there, let me also get on board one other person who's in a different location. And so
Okay.
we call for Pak. Pak and Jeroen, where can we find you? And let me see if I can unmute Pak. And meanwhile, I'll ask our viewers from the conference, what are also their opinions on how difficult or easy for you is on actually switching on this kind of button that you might say, how might we actually get the joy and the typical pleasure of arriving in a new place, and suddenly you're very awakened for all your senses are very sensitive for everything. How might you also be very sensitive in a normal business situation? Is it easy or not? And I'd love to hear your comments on the chat. Let's see if we can already get some sound from Jeroen and from Pak.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello, Pak.
Hey, Pedro. Hey. Hello, I'm Pak. Hey. We are on the ferry. Me and Jeroen are on the ferry at the moment. Yeah. And I think you can hear a lot of people are trying to get off. Yeah. Is it too noisy? Is it okay?
No, that's perfectly fine. And so where do you come from? And what do you see around you?
Yes, so, well, I come from originally a very sunny place, a very, very sunny place in Hong Kong, Southeast Asia. So what do I see around me now? It's just a really nice veil like rain. That's how I can feel. It's just rain at the moment, but it's exciting. It's really exciting here. So I've only been in Amsterdam, a bit like Leo, quite recently, and moved during lockdown time. So yeah, here I am, really, just building a life here. I guess that's the best way to say it.
Very well. So, and same question that I had asked Leo. Do you feel this notion of your senses are very awakened to the foreign city and to all little differences that suddenly you notice because you're so fresh in the city?
Yeah, I think definitely. I've been coming here back and forth for the last 2 or 3 years, and I guess it's not just the memory. For me, it's the smell of Amsterdam. It's not a bad smell, obviously. It's quite a pleasant town. It's very clean, but it's the smell of rain and water. It makes you kind of think, oh, like what's the history of water with Amsterdam or with the Netherlands? Full stop. So definitely everything is exciting. I noticed a lot of orange in the city, or maybe in the culture here, maybe because it's a national color. So it's interesting to hear about the how the Swapfits used blue, which is also very national. But I thought they might have used orange or something like that. I always notice myself though, always try to find familiarity when I'm in a different city. So perhaps, the words I really picked up from what Leo said was the idea of fingerprints, like leaving our fingerprints behind. but yet haven't really maybe touched enough stuff here yet, like in a work way or in a private life, I don't know. But yeah, just there's no fingerprints of me here yet, or my life here, or really leaving a mark, I guess. So that's exciting, but also that's very foreign to me. The whole city is foreign at the moment, so it's challenging. It is challenging.
Let me ask the audience if they could also comment on the chat about these transition moments that they might have had, either by changing into a new job or doing something new in a new department, where suddenly you get shocked by all the differences and you want to make a lot of changes and you want to start something new, and then this kind of goes away. But can you, Park, think of what is happening in your brain in terms of all this empathy and all this acceptance of the difference? What would you say are the characteristics that are the hallmark of making you so acutely aware to all the differences? Oh, we lost sound from Park. Hello, sound. We wish sound back.
Can you hear me properly? Yeah, I
Now,
can hear you. Yeah?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, cool. So what really strikes my mind at the moment is just feeling a sense of nervousness. But I don't know, like I always find that sense of nervousness can be quite exciting, but also it kind of opens up you being vulnerable to other people.
yeah.
And I think being vulnerable is okay at the moment, just because I am new here. I don't know let's say the social codes of how do you follow the rules in the Netherlands. When I spent a lot of time living in London, where pretty much rules doesn't really apply in that city. They always talk about common sense. So like little things like that, but that nervousness makes you become aware, and when you become aware, I guess that you kind of take your steps in a more thought out way than just running with it. And I guess I've missed running with it as well, because you learn more. But also there's a sense that I need to set up let's say some foundations in order to keep myself, keep on experimenting, right? With what's going on, and keep on just learning about Dutch culture and Dutch friendship, etc. And yeah, that's feeling nervousness and scared. Yeah, don't know why. Really don't know why. Maybe because at the moment I've got two cameras pointing at me. That's probably.
Well, let's get you a bit even more nervous and see if we have any questions from our lovely audience for Pak. Anyone would like to make any questions on this transition? You must unmute yourselves. And there's someone popping up. No. Then let me see if I can find Anupa. Yes, I see her there. She also moved recently to Amsterdam, according to the comments. And Anupa, I actually know you have a design background. And so as a designer, thinking about this sense of empathy and discovery and research, is it easy to kind of like just summon up this sense of discovery, which feels so natural when you move into a new city? But when you're doing it professionally, what's different? Why is it difficult or easy for you to switch on this, or to summon this sense of discovery?
I feel one of the biggest opportunities or challenges you can say is that you need to understand your surrounding. You have to understand your environment, and that's really important because you come with certain let's say backgrounds, perceptions, and when you fit that into a completely different scenario, whether it's personal or professional, you just need to switch on that clock in your head and then just say, okay, I need to fit in. Obviously, through your journey, you will find roadblocks or better opportunities. So I think, yeah, your perception definitely changes and you become more open or you become more hesitant. In my case, I was more open to whatever was around me and it was a great experience.
Very good. Let me see if I get a few more voices from the crowd. Who would like to also comment on this, on how easy or difficult it is to summon up these powers of empathy and discovery, and the differences in your personal life, which seems to be, you suddenly become acutely aware for all the differences, but when you're trying to design or chat a service, it might be much more difficult. Who would like to comment?
I can come in if you like.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just thinking about people who move a lot. I noticed that I travel a lot for my work, 120, 130 flights a year usually outside COVID. And I have friends who are sort of professional expats. And it's quite interesting how after a while you don't engage with the local context. You know, expat communities who stay away from the local culture and so on, living in enclaves, watching their TV from home and stuff like this. And it seems that the ones who travel more do that more than the ones who might be in a foreign country for the first time or the second time as living there. And I wonder if that's some kind of defense mechanism as well, that after a point it becomes like an overload of empathy.
Yeah, I believe so.
Can I build on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating because I think there's almost like the layer. Yeah. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, with a bit less noise. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry for that. So I think there's almost like when you arrive, you're just trying to survive, right? So I think it depends on really the time frame that you have and what are your intentions with whether you want to establish your roots in that place or not. Okay.
Let's give Leo a small bit of a chance.
Okay, now? Okay, now it's
So this is our wonderful prototype, and we need to see if we manage these bloody microphones.
Hello.
And so that's for a second attempt.
I think now it works.
Leo's opinion.
So what I was saying is that I think it depends on how long are you intending to stay. Are you willing to establish your roots in that place or not? Or if you're a professional expat, you know you're not going to be long for that. So your almost energy needs to be dedicated for your objectives. So if your expat friend is just focused on work, all of his energy is going to be focused on surviving on the first logistics and then, excelling at work. Now, for me, I'm moving here. I have a family, and maybe I'll stay here for longer. So now I'm learning Dutch, right? So these things are effort. It's time, it's money. You really need to want it. And I think it has to do with this. What's your long-term objective?
That's a very good point.
I think it's also about...
Ilonka, go ahead.
Thank you. I think it also has to do with personality, because I've observed a lot of people who were expats in the Netherlands or who were friends of mine who moved to Africa. And some of them, they connect and they like connecting and they keep being interested in the culture. But I also have, when I was younger, I traveled because one of my aunt and uncle worked for the embassy in Asia. And they were always in their bubble. It was kind of a personality type. And they didn't integrate at all. They didn't even know the cost of the stamp in the country they lived in.
Yeah. Also, let me see if I can get Irene Kempe to comment. I saw some of her comments on the chat.
Yeah, I was typing actually. I'm an Italian living in the Netherlands, and I think in my transition in these years, there's always a moment where you need to come home. And the come home is not really flying back to Italy, but eating an ice cream or having a spaghetti, even in the Netherlands. And that gives you the base to have the other what the fuck happening in the new country. Yeah. So I think in any transition, there is always a moment where you have to put your feet again on the ground and say, okay, at the end of the day, I remain the one that I was when I was born.
And why is it so different in the professional situation when you're trying to see the world through fresh eyes and bringing this?
Because it's scary, isn't it? It's scary. In a professional world, I think you are less used to accept mistakes. I mean, in a human dimension, you accept to fail at some point, but in a professional one, everyone expects that you are always super de duper. It's kind of expectation management, I think.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Let me see from Arne and Leonor. We had a no rules situation. Arne, would you like? Actually, I have to ask Leonor. Can you tell Arne?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about this rules situation that you want to try and promote in the conference?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can, but not really.
I think you're.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, wonderful.
Yes, you can. Because I have the microphone at my mouth now instead of in my pocket. It helps. As a lesson from this prototype, have the microphone near where the voice comes out of your body. All right. So we are here. Do you want to talk about this area where I'm in?
Yeah, because you called it the no rules zone.
Yeah. So why we are here?
Arne, you're keeping such a secret around it because now the sound is gone again, and
I'm back. So this zone is a no rules zone.
Hello, Arne.
It has.
Arne.
Yeah.
I need you to repeat what you were saying before.
Yes. So this zone is like you said, a no rule zone. But basically, what it did is that the story starts actually in a town in the Netherlands, not too far away from here. And there was a roundabout where a lot of accidents happened. And so they put down more signs, more.
You got cut.
Sorry, my microphone is just refusing my voice. Okay, so this roundabout caused a lot of accidents simply because it turns out that there were so many rules. No one understood what they were doing, or they were strictly keeping to their rights of way, saying no, you have to stop for me, and they stopped thinking, or all the social rules disappeared. So what they did as an experiment was take away all the signs, all the lines, all the rules, everything from this roundabout. After that, no accidents happened. So here behind the train station in Amsterdam, what you see is, so the ferries from Amsterdam North coming in, and you'll see a bunch of people exiting the one of the ferries. So that's like 100. Sometimes in rush hour, you have like 200-300 people. I don't know how many people actually exit the ferries, but they pour into this area. And then as you can see here, there's a moped coming. There's a cycle path and moped path also into the area. So see the bikes coming from the ferry. Now there's a tunnel on the other side. So here's a tunnel on the other side, where that's the center of Amsterdam. So a lot of people come from there. And then there's the train station. So people coming from in and outside of the train station, and everything kind of smashes together in this space. And they said, we're not going to make any clear rules. It's just like a square. No one knows what's going on. There's nothing indicating, who is, who has right of way, et cetera, et cetera. They were very nervous about this experiment. They're like, oh God, people are going to die and there's going to be so much fights. But actually what happens, and maybe if you've seen the camera pointing at this thing for a while, sometimes almost accident happens. But I've been here so many times, I've never seen any real accident. People basically go into the area and then they'll there's too many microphones, Pak. And what happens is they go into this area and they look up. They go like, hey, what's going on? And is this a psychopath? Is this a pedestrian area? I don't know. So basically what happens is social rules take over. Like they look up, they look at each other, they look each other in the eye, and sometimes maybe someone gets angry, like, you should stop for me or something, whatever. But it's not clear. And it works. So I would like to kind of take this as a symbol or a metaphor for safe space, creating a safe space to prototype, to try things out, to learn together, to make to be able to make some mistakes. But we're looking up. We're looking up and we're looking at each other and we're saying, hey, what's going on? What do you think? Who are you? Where are you from? Instead of looking down and saying, no, this is my space, my rules, I have the right of way, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why I think this space, this area is so nice. And I'm actually really afraid that an accident will happen while I'm filming this, because that will be like, sorry. But up to now, it's actually going quite well. So
I had to prove you wrong, but it did be.
Yes. All right, so here there's another ferry emptying, and now it's not rush hour, right? Actually, it's two of them now. So let's see if something really bad happens. So there's a cycle there. Yeah, there's someone cycling from that area. Ooh, almost. There's a near miss. But basically here, there we go. So there's pedestrians, there's a moped, there's bikes. Look at that, it's a mess. And it's like every now and then. So it's not like all the time, it's like everyone comes in together. There's a guy with a dog and a shopping cart, which is very normal.
You know what was interesting just now is that they almost clashed, but they didn't say anything to each other. Like in Spain, they would be insulting each other and they'll probably get out of the bike and say, watch out where you're going, man. It's just, you already see difference in culture. Everyone just follows their lives.
Yeah. Well, it's also because nobody knows what's going on here. They're like, was it my mistake? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So anyway, so this is the space I thought would be interesting to take you while we are taking you to Amsterdam, because you couldn't get here because of the interesting pandemic that we're going through. Okay, over to Studio Lisbon.
Yeah. So back to the studio, and again, I would like to address our guests and to try to figure out other situations of transition where you felt that there would be either some rituals in those transitions that would help you to actually engage from a previous state into a new state. And some obvious rituals might be getting married with all the ceremony, or just being onboarded into a new company, or moving into a new city. What did you do of special, or to kind of accept life in a new city? So some experiences from our audience. Who would like to share them?
I'll happily share. I live in Johannesburg at the moment and fly to Cape Town on occasion for work. And if any of you have seen recently my Octopus Teacher on Netflix, so the man who swims in these cold waters. So Cape Town have got really, really cold waters. And if the waters were warm in Cape Town, most of the coastline would be all the better. But it's extremely cold. And when I arrive in Cape Town, I'll hire a car and I'll drive straight to the ocean, and I'll jump in the water and swim. And it's so invigorating. It's just puts me on such a high. And then if I arrive in Cape Town, then I can go about my business.
And so in this transition to Johannesburg, what was shocking for you and how did you solve it?
What was shocking for me? What comes up straight away is traffic. So arriving at peak hour traffic between 3 and 6 o'clock in Cape Town. Cape Town's got limited space, so traffic's just become worse and worse over the years. And so arriving at the wrong time can mean sitting in 2 hours of traffic before you actually get to the beach. So that's quite shocking.
Absolutely. So someone else from our wonderful crowd, and I can name you. I don't know. I can see Antonio Starnino anxious to say something there about some transition moments in your life, Antonio.
Am I anxious? Yeah, I think I've gone through a lot of transition moments, having to move to different cities, primarily in Europe. But it's been kind of like an interesting or weird. Like I always describe it as this just like initial kind of honeymooning stage where you're trying to make sense of what's happening around you. And then I think a lot of it then comes down to your personality. Like I had a Brazilian roommate when I first moved to Milan, and it was amazing because he was super extroverted and he super wanted to know everything about what's happening around him. And so kind of following him around, it was like a fun experience. I'm a bit more introverted. And so sometimes you can end up holding yourself back from wanting to experience all the things in the city. I remember I lived in Lyon for 5 months and I remember not exploring as much as I wanted to because I was a bit more introverted or because I was a bit more scared to not know where I was going unless I had someone there to follow or support me in that. And so it's kind of interesting for me when I think about my own transitions, how much like my own personality either held me back or the people I was with either supported me in terms of exploring and understanding.
Did that ever happen to you with a brand? Kind of like a new cell phone brand, a new computer brand, something that you entered the space of a new brand and you felt like, I'm entering a new city, I need a guide. You felt the excitement of discovery or the fright, all this fear of, or anxiety, or what did you feel with some brand that caused you some emotional impact?
It depends on the brand. I mean, like, less if it's like a small thing, but if the brand is quite big, like in the sense if I'm looking to buy a new piece of technology, or if I'm looking to invest in a new pair of running shoes or something like that, like those types of things, I tend to do a lot of research on. And so like the social support of understanding when and why and what makes sense for me is actually really quite important. And I do think like, especially around like a brand or trusting a brand or not, I do tend to rely on other people's opinions. So I do see like my old patterns of how I transition into a new space or a new place kind of applying to when I'm buying something that I haven't bought before, or I'm trying to invest in something or a category that I haven't necessarily invested in before. And there's tons of different options. And like, you know, is this brand that's more well-known and a bit more expensive better really than the nothing options that like might be a bit cheaper? You know, is there really that difference? And so I tend to explore that.
Right, okay. Let me see if anyone else had such an experience. Oh, I had a little fly covering my camera. If anyone else had such an experience also of transitioning to a new brand. Adarsh.
Yeah, I am from India. So the moment I arrived in Italy, I bought some clothes from India. So I thought the clothes are cool in fashion wise when I was in India. The moment I arrived in Italy, I realized that my clothes are outdated. So so it was a very new experience for me. I never thought the clothes which I thought cool living in India has suddenly changed in a single, the moment I arrived in India. So yeah, it's very different. The clothing style is very different comparing with how Indians wear and how, especially in Italy. So as you know, Italy is one of the, Milan, especially the fashion capital, the clothes are very different. And I didn't consider that, weather is the main thing which plays an important role in this. So I have considered that, the clothes I need for winter and I bought from India. the moment I arrived in Italy, I came to know the winter clothes are designed.
Okay, I also lived in Milano for 6 months. Certainly, I'm very acutely aware of what you're saying. Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Any Italian in this crowd who would confirm all this need to be fashion aware? And actually, then we'll jump
I
to.
can confirm.
Irene, go ahead.
For me, it's a deep fashion, actually. From when I'm here, I'm much more casual.
All right. Okay.
I would never be like this if I was in Milan. No. Yeah.
You would not be allowed. It would not be proper.
No, yeah, exactly. And when I came here, I started wondering because I had all this purse, in leather purse, etc. And then I had to take my bike, and I thought, but how does Dutch woman do? Because you get wet, they all get wasted. And then I looked around, and nobody has one. So they all have this waterproof backpack or whatever. So you start adapting again. You say, oh, okay.
Let's see what Pika has to say about it as a national girl. Pika, so what do you think of the comments from Italian about the fashion?
I'm awake. The Dutch fashion. Okay, yeah, the Dutch fashion is very practical. So I think it's better to adapt to Dutch fashion standards than the other way around. Because when you're used to adapting or looking in, at the weather forecast and then pick your clothes, I think it brightens your day. So I love the Dutch fashion, yes.
But
it might not be very nice to look at. So if you see women or men as like pretty things with pretty clothes, then I don't think you should go to Holland on holidays.
Then the destination is definitely Milano.
Yeah.
So there's a small big secret about empathy, which is it's only as strong as your personal life experiences are close to the situation you're analyzing. Because your personal life is built of so many memories and so many experiences, but they're quite unique to each one of us. And so when we look at some situation, we always look it through our experience and through our eyes. And achieving empathy, we're just getting slightly closer to how other people perceive any situation, as we never lived other people's lives, we just lived our life. And so it's quite difficult to actually try to put ourselves in the shoes of somebody else. It's basically mission impossible. But you can kind of try to get closer and closer. And these moments, especially these moments of transition, with some rituals, do help us to kind of like manipulate somewhat these moments of empathy. And changing to a new city is one of those interesting moments when suddenly your brain awakens to all these different situations and you're acutely aware of the differences from what you knew before and what you're discovering now. And these transitions are also pretty valid for a brand, for a new product or a new service. So when you get into a new bank, or and this bank is in a different country, and they start asking you for your credit life for the past 10 years and a blood sample, and you wonder what's going on. And so these differences, of course, they're strange for you, but and make you question why things are the way they are. And so this natural curiosity is of course, one of the key ingredients for us to try to give this small step of empathy towards understanding the other side. What other small steps would help in empathy from your perspective? So we've been seeing curiosity, and we've seen how Pac and Leo are trying to survive this change into Amsterdam. And let's see if we can get some more information from their side. Pac, let's see if we get his sound. Hello, Pac, we're calling you back.
Hey, I'm just switching my camera over. Hello.
So, Mr. Fashionista, what's your opinion on all these fashion comments and bringing a bit of the perhaps some brand comments also?
In a way, it made me kind of like think of to this day, I still don't have a waterproof poncho or a Raymac here in the city. So it was really interesting to hear what Fika said about how, like actually adapting to Dutch fashion, it could be useful. But yeah, I still haven't done it. So I don't know, is it important to explore the part that you're closed off? As in the door has shut in certain ways that I'm not letting people see or not letting myself get lost, if that makes sense. So yeah, maybe like tapping on the bits that I'm holding really dear to, right? In an ethical way, obviously, because as a psychologist, I cannot not say that, right? So yeah, so I think that's important.
And so you being a fashionista, what would you tell a brand about, understanding local needs? And right, if I had a Portuguese or Italian brand of clothes trying to get into the local market, what would be your perspective for them on how to understand local needs?
How to understand local needs, I think it's definitely look beyond fashion.
You're going through that experience yourself now.
Say that again, sorry?
Because you're going through that experience yourself now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely if I'm talking to like a brand or retail or just about myself, like, our relationship with clothes. In a way, I think like for anyone that's designing in this kind of area, it's kind of looking outside of clothes and look at what makes us pull on this particular item during the day, or what make us kind of like remember the I guess who we are before we moved here, and also who we are now, and can clothes, can design help that transition? I think that's what I would ask, but just focusing on clothes might not necessarily tell us the whole story. So yeah, I feel that's how I always say if I have a client or doing my writing and stuff. So yes.
Thank you. Let me see if I could get Adam Lawrence to comment on familiarity and then familiar and superpowers, following up on his comment.
This was the kryptonite one, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, it just struck me that we're talking about transitions and how we become more alert to differences, perhaps because situations are new, or as some of the people in the chat were saying, because we are less competent in those situations, because we don't speak the language well, or we don't know which way the traffic is going to come from. So that heightens our opinions to these things. And I wonder if then it gets more difficult to be empathic in a situation in which you are familiar, in which you don't have these heightened senses. And that would often contradict what we usually say, which is the more you know about something, the more empathic you can be about it.
Yes, absolutely. Let me see if we still have Elizabeth Butcher around. I'm trying to find her, but
I'm here.
You're there, okay. Elizabeth, I like your comment about refusing to adapt, which might be a useful perspective on kind of like keeping alive this sense of for how long can we keep ourselves fresh and like a 4-year-old discovering reality in a process, in a city, in a service. Would you like to comment on your comment? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can think of sort of 2 quick little moments where this happened and they were different. One was when I moved to Berlin and I was working in a advertising agency, and I, pretty contemporary digital space. But I didn't get a new cell phone when I arrived in Berlin. I just didn't get one. I had my old cell phone, but it didn't really work. I was just using it to take pictures. And for about 7 months, I didn't have a phone. and the agency would be trying to figure out how to get a hold of me or whatever. And we just, you know, I just kind of kept avoiding the problem. And then finally I was like, okay, I guess I have to get a phone now. But it was nice to not be connected, you know, in some kind of way. And then the other time was when I had an opportunity to live on a farm. And at first the smell of the farm was really overpowering. But after I lived there a long time with these cows, the smell became just so, I don't know, it was just this, it was like Proust. It was, the smell was just like, just crazy how this smell would affect me. So I had this sweater that I brought home and never washed, you know, and I could just go to the closet and smell this sweater after I left that place. So I guess it just makes me think about the ways that, you know, we don't have to adapt right away. You know, maybe it just takes a time and you can appreciate your viewpoint.
Oh, that's a wonderful comment. Yes. Who else would like to follow up on Elizabeth?
Pedro, say something.
Sure, sure. Go ahead.
I just wanted.
Oh,
who do you want to talk first, Pedro? You decide.
Let's just see if we can make the two of you talk in sequence.
No, her first.
I just wanted to comment on the last, I don't know your name, but the last lady, because for me, it's also very much what stage of your life you're in. So I moved a lot. I moved around a lot when I was as a child, so it was never my choice. It was because we were because of my dad's job. So I, you know, as a child, especially as a teenager, you want to fit in as quickly as possible. You don't want to be different. While I think as an adult, and I've also moved as an adult, you are much more confident in yourself and your culture, your base culture, let's say, where you come from. And you are also less, you don't mind so much being a bit different. So that's just what I wanted to add, that it's also very much what stage of your life you're in.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Keeping the child in you. Yes. And who was next? Because there was the other voice. I had another voice trying to.
Leonor, Leo.
Leo, go ahead, dear.
No, so Pedro, I just wanted to build on the transitions part and opportunities for brands.
Yes.
So I'm a marketer, so I've always been looking at the consumer, trying to be in their shoes. And I always found that the richest opportunities lie in the tensions. So, and to give you an example, I used to work in laundry category, like detergents to wash your clothes. And there was this wonderful tension that changed around the type of culture, the type of country, which was, so I have a family, I have kids that are continuously in the mud. They're super happy playing around and getting dirty, but that frustrates me because I want them to be clean, and having them in clean clothes also is a way of me showing how I care for them, right? So this tension then opened opportunities for the brands to say, okay, let's make it easier to have amazing clean clothes. So like the pods that you just throw in the machine and they're always like impeccable, super white, super clean, so that the kids can go back into dirtying themselves up, right? And so I think every transition opens the door for clashes, be it cultural clashes, be it habits, parenthood, change of city, you're getting married. It's just, there are situations in life that open so many possibilities of tensions, and exploring those tensions can give space to brands to operate or think in new solutions for an old problem. Yeah, that's the only thing I want to add.
So thank you very much. And let me round this now with one final question to our audience, to everyone. This was our first prototype on launching the Design Thinking Conference online. And what I would like to ask everyone is, since this is a live television kind of thing as an online conference, how did it feel for you? What would you prefer that it would have been different? What would you change? What would you add? And so do say it on the comments, but also here, live, with your own voice.
I'll say something. I don't know.
Elizabeth, go ahead.
I kind of miss, I mean, I miss you guys. I don't even know you people, but your way of embracing failure and just going with it is really refreshing. And I just appreciate that. I also was talking to my friend and just saying how much we like to be able to see Amsterdam. So it's really fun to like see places.
Yeah.
So I like that aspect of it. I think that we're missing a little bit the lady with the throwable microphone.
Yeah, I miss it too.
I feel like you almost need something like that a little bit, but
her microphone, yes.
Yes. So anyway, I think whatever you guys do and however you guys figure it out, it will be cool. And I want to be a part of it too. So that's all that I wanted to say.
To find a way to roll the dice or throw a virtual microphone into Zoom and see what happens, definitely. Let me try that and just by accident, just point at someone. Rose Giethorn, I should have pointed at a name I could pronounce properly. Rose, what would you change? What would you do differently? What did you like also?
So for me, it's the first time being here with you. And I was really surprised by this prototype. It's really fun. I live in the Netherlands too. I live in Den Bosch, and I also miss it to be able to, go to Amsterdam. So it was great to be back there for a moment. And I think, yeah, I mean, the sound, but that will just be something that you've been experiencing right now too, is how many microphones, who's videoing who, the wind and all those things, but it's also something that comes along with just being outside, which is also like a fun thing to have with it. So
pointing my finger now into the other screen, I see Hugo Gonçalves. Hugo, mate, would you comment on this? What happened today here?
Hi, Peter. Hi, guys. I hope you are okay and safe, all of you. I really liked the Amsterdam tour and the connections and the metaphors that are there. For example, in the no rules space or zone, how the metaphor of the storytelling of how Amsterdam City came to that solution, how there was a link, direct link to design thinking. So probably I think the metaphor or analogies tool can be of use when you are designing another moments for the conference, and you can use Amsterdam as a stage. So if you want to talk to personas, you choose I don't know, a building. If you want to talk about prototyping, customer experience, brainstorming, dot voting, etc., etc., if you can find places that can, with examples or metaphors, where you can link to design thinking, I think it would be perfect, because Amsterdam, or the outside of everything, is a space. And when we walk, I drive by the same streets every day, but when I walk through those streets, I find some things that I haven't seen before. So I think when you walk, you are more attentive, you are more curious about things. So I believe this kind of virtual tour, virtual walking on a city or on a space or a museum, if you can come up with metaphors or analogies about the subjects and topics of design thinking, or about anything that is gravitating about these subjects, would be great.
Oh, very good. Yeah, I like the idea of walking. We need to find a good way to translate walking into how to build empathy, kind of like this slowing down the whole process. Pointing one more name before pointing back to Orne. Jen Sutherland from South Africa. My dear, how was it today for you?
Do you pick on me because of my comment that I liked not necessarily having to physically speak if I didn't want to? But I can still participate through the chat, and it's nice to be able to participate without necessarily having that, that physical engagement pressure if I'm not feeling like
absolutely.
social.
Yes. So yes, I was here being a naughty boy, pointing at you. Thank you for participating anyway. Thank you, Jen. And
You're welcome.
Arne, for you, what was this madness today? And let's see if the man already has a mic.
So first of all, I want to thank everyone, sticking with us with this very rough lo-fi prototype that taught us at least a lot about technology and microphones and stuff like that. However, the technology that we have is actually amazing because we all have it. Everyone has these phones, these cameras. It's such a brilliant thing to utilize. Now, this prototype and this idea of an online conference is never meant to replace the physical gathering, because I miss you people too. I want to be together with you. I don't like this at all. By the way, we look like a bunch of idiots standing here filming each other. It is like, everybody's like, who are these people? Like, it's really weird. But anyway, it's like an arts, some kind of exhibition kind of thing. So we're kind of, it's like we're making a point about being totally crazy about selfies. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, we want to invite you to use what you've seen to maybe I hope it triggered, and already had some really cool ideas from you. What is a trigger? What is the future of online conferences? Is it sitting, I know 2 hours too long, it should be 1 hour, or maybe 1 hour and a half or whatever. But is it about sitting behind your computer watching PowerPoint presentations? Is it about merging with exciting television or like a news show? Or is it that? Is it making you the director so you can choose your camera angles? Are we visiting clients? Where are we? Are we going places? Are we taking you places while you're at home? Any thought? So we would love to hear from you. And I already see my batteries draining. So my final words are, thank you very much for allowing us to do this and to try this out and to fail forward in public, live on YouTube, and record it forever and ever. It was a lot of fun. I survived cycling and filming Leo, who was pregnant. Actually, I missed filming her while she actually fell down. And I was just, damn it, I didn't film that. But we survived, and I thank you so much. So over to our anchor in Lisbon, and thank you.
Yes, so I think that for today, this is it. And I would like to thank everyone who joined us for this hour of prototyping, allowing us to experiment in some ideas that we'll try to carry on to some sessions of the Design Thinking Conference online that we'll be producing in the coming weeks and months. So thank you very much in the name of the whole team. And please do put all your comments, send us all your ideas. Just let us know how you would like this conference to be, as this conference is for you guys. And so it's for all of us to learn together and fail together, fast forward. And so thank you so much. And we'll be seeing you soon. So more news coming soon from Lisbon and Amsterdam. So thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was interesting. Everyone loved it.
Yeah. So
I was checking the chat. Oh, I left.